My fiancée posted a child-free life goals meme featuring my daughter's bedroom. She thought I wouldn't find it. She thought her locked Instagram account meant her secret was safe. But when my sister showed me the post, I saw my daughter's name in the caption. I didn't argue. I canceled the wedding, the lease, and her entire social credit score before lunch. I'm 39, widower, father of 2. My daughter Ivy is 11. My son Luca just turned 9. Their mom passed away from a sudden aneurysm 4 years ago. Since then, it's just been the 3 of us, holding the world together with duct tape and love. Then came Raina. She slid into my life like she belonged there. We met at a charity auction for a local animal shelter in Carson Springs, Idaho. She was all glitter and ambition. Said she worked in digital marketing, but her job seemed mostly about posting glamorous selfies and drinking oat milk lattes at 11 a.m. Still, she was funny, flirty, and for a while, made me feel like maybe life had some light left in it. My kids were cautious around her, Ivy especially. She'd gone silent after her mother's death, and Raina's chirpy attitude grated on her. Luca just tried to stay invisible. I assumed they needed time, but time didn't help. Raina was polite to them, sure. Took them to mini-golf, baked cupcakes, once, but there was always a twitch in her eye when they left a mess or talked over her. She'd smile, tight-lipped, and file it away. Raina never yelled. She plotted. We dated for a year before she moved in. That's when the friction went full flame. First came the aesthetic suggestions. She painted the kitchen cabinets mauve, tossed out my daughter's unicorn curtains, and replaced them with modern neutral palettes. Bought fake eucalyptus plants and scattered them like minefields across every room. She called it elevating the home. I called it a slow erasure. Then came the structure. Screen time rules were rewritten. Ivy's art supplies, boxed up to reduce clutter. Luca's Lego sets, limited to a plastic tub under his bed. She implemented a bedtime so strict it made military boot camp look lenient. I spoke up. She said, discipline is love. She wasn't disciplining. She was colonizing. Still, I tried to compromise. I wanted love again. I wanted my kids to have a complete family again. And when she suggested a fresh start by moving into a bigger home, I thought maybe it'd help. I had no idea the house wasn't for the kids. It was for her brother, Troy. Troy was a 34-year-old human sinkhole, no job, no car, slept on a mattress on the floor of their mom's basement. Claimed to be working on a startup, but mostly played VR games and posted conspiracy rants online. Raina said he needed a fresh start, too. We're all family now, she told me. He's been through so much. What Troy had been through, apparently, was 3 eviction notices, 2 DUIs, and a failed pyramid scheme involving energy supplements. I told her, flat out, he's not living with us. She sulked for days. Then one night I heard Ivy crying. She showed me a text on her iPad. It was from Raina, a forwarded brochure for a private boarding school, with a note that said, "Wouldn't this be an amazing place for you to thrive?" I stormed downstairs. Raina was on the couch, glass of wine in hand, scrolling Zillow. What is this? I held up the iPad. She didn't even blink. It's just an idea, she said with a shrug. I thought she might be happier around kids her own age. Plus, we'd have more space to focus on building our life. More space for who? You? Troy? Don't be dramatic. Are you out of your mind? She stood up, flipped her hair, and said it. The line I will never forget. If sending your kids to an elite academy is a deal breaker, maybe you're not husband material. I stared at her. No words. Just cold disbelief. She thought she had leverage. The wedding was 6 weeks away. Invitations were sent, dress fitted, venue paid. Her parents had even contributed to the down payment for our future home. But I don't. Bluff. I don't negotiate with terrorists. That night, while she was asleep, I made my move. I canceled the venue, froze our joint account, contacted my realtor to pull out of escrow, took screenshots of the boarding school texts. Then I called her parents and told them everything. The next morning, she woke up to chaos. And I hadn't even opened Instagram yet. The screenshots made it real, not just to me, but to everyone I sent them to. I didn't post them publicly, not yet. I'm not that guy. But I wanted her parents to see the version of their daughter I had been living with. The one who thought my 11-year-old daughter's growth could be bought by exiling her to Vermont, just so her degenerate brother could sleep on a bed frame for once. Her dad's response? A single text. You did the right thing. Her mom. Radio silence, which told me everything. Raina woke up the next morning to a house with no coffee, no eggs, no fiancé, and a canceled lease. I had taken the liberty of emailing our realtor before dawn and telling her to take our offer off the table. She came downstairs wrapped in her silk robe, hair in a messy bun, and said, "We're out of almond milk." That's what she said. Not "good morning," not "hey, did you cancel the wedding venue?" No. "We're out of almond milk." I looked her dead in the eyes and replied, "We're out of a future, too." She blinked, smiled like I was joking. I wasn't. She sat on the bar stool, scrolling, through her phone. I was packing a duffel bag, not mine. Hers. "What are you doing?" she asked slowly, still smiling. "You need to leave," I said calmly, with no rage left. "Just the kind of cold you feel when a storm passes, and the wreckage is all that's left." She laughed. "You're serious?" I didn't answer, just kept folding her designer tops like they were clearance rags. She jumped off the stool. "You're actually doing this? Over a brochure?" I finally turned to face her. "Over a pattern, Raina. A pattern of control, manipulation, disrespect toward my kids, who, by the way, have had more trauma in their short lives than you've had inconveniences." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You're acting like I told them to sleep in a barn." "You told my daughter she might be happier away from her father, from her home, from the one place that's still hers after losing her mom." She rolled her eyes so hard I swear I heard a ligament snap. "It was a suggestion," she said, "and you're blowing it way out of proportion. You're sabotaging everything we've built over your need to play daddy martyr." That's when I snapped. Not with yelling, but with truth. I am a dad, and I'll always be a dad first. That's not martyrdom. That's what real love looks like. Something you wouldn't recognize if it came with a label and a hashtag. She tried to spin it. Of course she did. Narcissists don't exit gracefully. "You've been looking for an out since the start," she hissed. "You never really loved me. You loved the idea of me." "No," I said, shaking my head. "I loved you until you decided my kids were furniture that could be moved for convenience." That's when it ended. Then came the Instagram post. A few hours later, my sister texted me, "Dude, you seen this?" I opened the link and my jaw dropped. There it was, a soft-filtered photo of my daughter's room, the one Raina had redecorated, without asking. The caption? "Manifesting peace, minimalism, and a child-free future." Design goals. Stepmom vibes. I don't remember putting my phone down. I just remember the rage boiling back into my chest like acid. You want to disrespect me? Fine. But using my daughter's room as a symbol for the peace you could only achieve by removing her from the picture? That's war. I called a locksmith. Within 10 minutes. By sundown, her house key didn't work. By midnight, I had screenshots, backups, and a digital paper trail so dense it could be entered into evidence if needed. And I was just getting started. It happened 2 days after I changed the locks. A knock at the door. Loud, too loud. The kind of knock that didn't ask, it demanded. I peeked through the window and my stomach dropped. Troy, shaved head, vape in hand, wearing a hoodie that said, "Hustle over everything," which was hilarious coming from a man who couldn't hustle himself off his mom's couch. I opened the door, but only halfway. "What do you want?" I asked. He grinned, like he was the damn welcome committee. "Yo, Raina said I could come grab my room. His room." "My man," I said, gripping the doorknob like it owed me money. "This isn't a Motel 6. You don't have a room here. You never did." He laughed. Actually laughed. "She said y'all were just arguing and you'd cool off. You got space, right?" Space? Oh, I had space. Space between me and any remaining tolerance for this human trash fire. She lied, I said. "You're not stepping 1 foot inside this house." He stepped forward. I stepped into the doorway. That's when it happened. He reached for the door frame like he was about to push through, and I slammed it shut. Deadbolt clicked. Cops dialed. My hands were steady, but my heart pounding, because my kids were upstairs. Ivy, reading on her bed. Luca, building a Lego dragon. They had no idea that a grown man-child was on our porch trying to bulldoze his way into our lives. While I waited for the police, Troy started yelling through the door. "You think this is over? You're screwing with my life, man. I had plans." Plans? Based on what? Raina's delusions and his entitlement? I didn't respond. Let him scream. When the cops pulled up, he switched it up, acted cool, said he just came to talk. But I had cameras. I had screenshots. And I had the kind of calm fury that makes officers lean in and listen. They told him to leave and warned him if he came back, it'd be trespassing. But it didn't stop there. The next day, Raina showed up in tears. mascara, down her cheeks, hair unwashed. She stood in the driveway with the same "we need to talk" face she used when she tried to rehome my children. I didn't invite her in. "You've made your point," she sniffled. "But you don't understand. Troy's struggling. He's staying in his car." "Great," I said. "Let him struggle. Maybe he'll learn what personal responsibility feels like." "You're being cruel." "No, I'm setting boundaries, something your family clearly doesn't believe in." She stepped closer. "You're not just punishing me, you're punishing him." I stared at her. "That was the plan." Raina started spiraling, ranting about how I humiliated her, how she'd told her entire Instagram following we were getting married, and now she looked like a fraud. "And what about the vendors? I have deposits. I had a wedding content calendar." A wedding content calendar. She wasn't mourning our relationship. She was mourning her social engagement metrics. "You weaponized my kids," I said. "So now I'm weaponizing reality." She flinched. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, voice steady, "that every person who needs to know, your parents, your followers, your job, will know the truth. And if your brother so much as steps on my sidewalk again, he's getting a restraining order." Then I walked back inside and shut the door. She stayed out there for hours. I didn't care. But the next week, things got worse. An anonymous burner account started messaging my daughter on her school email. Creepy stuff. Questions about how she liked her room, if she missed freedom. My stomach sank. I traced the IP. Troy. He hadn't just crossed a line. He'd launched himself off a cliff of decency and face-planted into felony territory. That night, I contacted a lawyer. By morning, I had filed for a protective order. But I wasn't done. You don't mess with my daughter. It was 9:02 a.m. when the judge looked over his glasses and said, "Mr. Danner, can you confirm that this man harassed your daughter through her school account?" I didn't blink. "Yes, Your Honor. And I have the screenshots, metadata, and IP trace to prove it." Troy sat 2 seats to my left, wearing a wrinkled polo and looking like a man who hadn't slept or bathed in 3 days. His lawyer was a public defender who looked just as exhausted. The judge reviewed the packet my attorney handed over. He didn't take long. Temporary restraining order. Granted. No contact with me, my children, or my property. Violations punishable. By arrest. The order took less than 20 minutes to file. Troy didn't even fight it. He just slumped in his chair, muttering something about cancel culture and how everyone's out to get me. He shuffled out of the courtroom like a raccoon caught in daylight. But I wasn't done yet, because while Troy was the fire, Raina had been the match. She hadn't just enabled him, she'd encouraged him, lied to him, promised him a life that wasn't hers to give. And when it fell apart, she threw gasoline on the ashes and blamed me for not handing over the matchbook. It was time to show her who she really was, through her own words. See, while Raina thought she was clever, she'd made one critical mistake. She left her work laptop in my home, and she never logged out. Raina worked remote for a boutique ad agency. Her life revolved around image, clean portfolios, curated campaigns, and a carefully managed public persona. But her Slack messages, her Zoom logs, her emails, a goldmine. One file stood out, titled Life Blueprint. It was a document she'd written to herself like a journal meets vision board. Quotes, rants, plans, all time-stamped, and right there in bullet points was this line: "Make the kids someone else's problem. Once they're out, convert rooms to gym and guest suite. Troy can crash until rehab." I didn't touch or alter a word. Instead, I screenshotted the file, plus her internal messages bragging about retraining the little ones and calling Ivy moody and manipulable. Then I joined her weekly Zoom stand-up. As her husband-to-be, I still had her schedule. I logged in at 10:30 a.m., muted, camera off. Raina was already there, leading the meeting in her usual performative way, sipping a green smoothie and smiling like a saint. "Let's circle back on deliverables," she said. "Then touch base on next week's influencer sprint." That's when I dropped it. I shared my screen. No warning, no words, just the PDF, her life blueprint. Bolded, highlighted, time-stamped. You could hear the air leave the Zoom room. Her manager gasped. Someone else said, "Whoa." Raina stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes darted. Then she disconnected. I didn't say a word. I logged out. 5 minutes later, I got a text from an unknown number. "What the hell did you just do?" I replied. "I introduced your mouth to your consequences." By noon, she'd been suspended. From her job pending an investigation. By 3 p.m., her agency released a vague PR statement about internal values misalignment. And by 6, my attorney had served her with a formal letter warning her not to contact me, my kids, or my employer, or face legal action. But karma wasn't done with her. A friend from the shelter gala, same place we met, texted me that night. "Bro, check her Insta." I opened the app. Raina had gone live, crying, smeared mascara, dramatic lighting, saying she'd been betrayed, abused, and cyberstalked by a bitter man clinging to his kids like emotional trophies. Her followers flooded the comments. Some offered sympathy. Others weren't buying it. Then someone posted, "Girl, you tried to send his daughter to boarding school for your brother. Sit this one out." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. She ended the stream mid-sob, and still, she had the nerve to email me that night. The subject line? Closure. I didn't open it. I didn't open the email labeled closure. I forwarded it to her mother. See, Raina underestimated one person more than anyone else, her own mom, Lorraine. We'd only met a few times. She lived in Flagstaff, retired school teacher, quiet, observant. The kind of woman who could slice your ego in half with one glance over her bifocals. During our second dinner together, she pulled me aside and said, "Raina's always been creative with the truth. If she ever goes too far, you call me." So, I did. I sent her the email, and the screenshots, and the boarding school brochure. 10 minutes later, Lorraine replied with just 3 words. "I'm coming over." That night, Raina showed up in full revenge mode, hair curled, lipstick flawless. She looked like someone walking into court, expecting to deliver a speech that'd win her the jury. "You crossed the line," she hissed, not even waiting for me to speak. "You humiliated me at work, online, and with my own family." "No," I said. "You did that. I just turned the volume up." She shoved a manila envelope into my chest. "Here, you want legal? Let's get legal. My attorney says you accessed my files without permission." I opened the envelope. Cease and desist. It would have been intimidating if it weren't printed on an Office Depot template in Comic Sans. "You threatened my kids. You invaded their space. You tried to ghost them out of their own home. And now you're shocked I didn't roll over and thank you for it? Your kids are brats!" she screamed, finally dropping the mask. "Selfish, clingy little obstacles. I gave up everything for you." "You gave up nothing," I cut in. "You played house for attention. You weren't building a family. You were building a damn resume." She stepped forward like she was about to throw something. When Lorraine stepped out of her Honda and onto my porch, Raina turned pale. "Mom, what are you—" Lorraine held up one hand like a traffic cop. "Enough." Silence. Raina froze. It was like watching a wolf get tranquilized mid-growl. "You lied to me," Lorraine said calmly. "You said he was unstable, that the kids were feral, that you were stepping in to help them build structure. Mom, no. I read every message. I saw the Instagram post. I saw the brochure. You tried to ship children off to make room for your brother, Raina. For Troy. Do you understand how grotesque that is?" Raina's jaw clenched. "I was just trying to survive." "No. You were trying to control." Lorraine turned to me. "I'm sorry for what she put you through. You and your children deserve peace." Then to Raina, "Get in the car. You're done here." Raina's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're siding with him?" "I'm siding with decency," Lorraine said. "Now move, before I say things we both regret." Raina left without another word. No dramatic exit. Just the sound of her heels on concrete, retreating. I stood on the porch, stunned. Lorraine turned back once. "Keep protecting those kids. That's what real men do." She drove off, leaving a silence so thick it felt like the earth had exhaled. For 2 days, everything was quiet. No texts, no calls, no social posts. It was like Raina had vanished into the void. Then, the explosion, Monday morning. My boss calls me into his office. "There's been a complaint," he says. "From who?" He slides a printout across the desk. Anonymous submission. Claimed I was emotionally unstable, abusive at home, and under investigation for harassment. It was well written, chillingly so. "Raina, I told him everything, every detail, every court date. I showed him the screenshots, the restraining order, the leaked documents. He leaned back, arms crossed, silent for a full minute. "Jesus," he muttered. "You handled this better than I would have." Then he handed me the complaint and dropped it in the shredder. But that wasn't the end, because a friend messaged me later that night. She's spiraling. She's talking about doing something drastic. I didn't panic. I documented. One day later, she showed up at Luca's school, claimed she was on the emergency contact list. She wasn't. Security turned her away. I got the call immediately. My heart nearly exploded through my chest. Enough was enough. The courtroom was cold. Not physically, just sterile. The kind of cold that sinks under your skin and makes your memories feel like evidence. I sat there, in a navy suit that still smelled like the dry cleaner, waiting for the judge to call our names. Raina sat across from me. Troy was in the back, face buried in his hoodie. He looked like he was aging in dog years. This wasn't a trial. It was a protection hearing. But to me, it was war. And I came armed. Raina had crossed her final line when she tried to access my son at school. She claimed it was a misunderstanding, that she just wanted to check on him. But the footage, her arguing with security, pulling out a fake ID, told a different story. My lawyer called it what it was: predatory manipulation. We filed for a permanent restraining order that week. Was allowed to speak near the end. I didn't prepare a speech. I didn't need one. When the judge asked if I had anything to say before ruling, I stood up and said, "Your Honor, I lost my wife to an aneurysm. My kids lost their mother before they hit puberty. What we've been through since, grief, healing, survival, it's made us tight. We're not perfect, but we're whole. Raina didn't try to join our family. She tried to replace it." I paused. She didn't just disrespect me. She tried to exile my kids, called them obstacles, told them they'd be happier far away. That's not parenting. That's psychological warfare. And when I finally said no, she brought her unstable brother into our lives like a Trojan horse. I turned to the judge directly. She invaded our home, our peace. And when I held the line, she made it her mission to burn everything down. This isn't a breakup. This is harassment, and we're asking the court to draw the boundaries she refuses to respect. Silence. The judge looked over the papers again, nodded slowly, then dropped the gavel. Restraining order granted. Full term. No contact with the petitioner or his children. Any breach will result in immediate legal action. Raina didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just sat there, eyes glazed, lips tight, as if someone had finally unplugged her illusion machine. As I walked out, Troy muttered something under his breath. I turned and said loud enough for the bailiff to hear, "You're next, buddy." By the end of the week, my attorney filed harassment charges against him, too. We'd found additional texts, ones that made it crystal clear his visits were attempts at intimidation. He'd never bother us again. But here's where the story gets brighter. It was about 3 months later. Fall hit Idaho, golden leaves falling like confetti. Ivy got accepted into the regional youth art showcase. Luca won 3rd place in the science fair. We rebuilt our life brick by brick. One day, Ivy came up to me with a drawing. It was our house, and 3 stick figures. "I didn't draw the lady this time," she said shyly, "because I don't think she lives here anymore." I nearly broke. I hugged her so tight she squeaked. That night, we roasted marshmallows on the back patio. No drama, no masks. Just laughter and melted chocolate. Peace doesn't always come loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, when the chaos finally leaves the room. As for Raina, she tried to claw her way back online, posted about healing, growth, and toxic exes, but her followers weren't buying it anymore. Screenshots have a way of living forever. She lost her job. She moved out of state. Her Instagram turned private. Last I heard, Troy moved in with another relative, until he stole from them too. But that's not my story anymore. My story is this. I chose my kids, every single time, and I'd do it again with zero hesitation. Let this be a warning to anyone who thinks they can come between a father and his children. You might win a few rounds. You might cause some damage. But when the dust settles, you'll learn the hard way. A dad on a mission doesn't need closure. He is the closure. And here it is, the finale of today's story. Did everything turn out as you imagined, or did it end unexpectedly? I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dive into the discussion together. If this story kept you in suspense, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? This is your chance to join an incredible community where exciting new stories unfold every day. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date. Thanks for your attention and see you on your new adventures.